Rain poured down the quiet city street as a frightened woman ran through the crowd, her heart pounding like a drum in her chest. Behind her, angry footsteps echoed closer and closer. Her ex-boyfriend had found her again. She didn't know where to go, until she saw him. A tall man stood near a cafe entrance, holding the small hand of a little girl. He looked calm, protective, safe. Without thinking, the woman rushed forward and wrapped her arms around him. "Please, just pretend you know me," she whispered desperately. The man froze. The little girl looked up in surprise. Across the street, the furious ex slowed down, confused by what he saw. After a moment of hesitation, the man gently placed his arm around the trembling stranger. "It's okay," he said quietly, playing along. The ex-boyfriend glared from a distance, then finally turned and disappeared into the rainy night. But the man still hadn't moved. Because when the woman finally lifted her face, his world stopped. "Emily," he whispered. Her eyes widened in shock. 5 years ago, Emily had disappeared without a word, the woman he once loved, the woman he had searched for endlessly. And now she was standing in his arms, shaking with fear. The little girl tugged on his sleeve. "Daddy, who is she?" Emily slowly stepped back, guilt and emotion filling her eyes. "I never meant to hurt you," she said softly. The billionaire CEO who had built an empire with unshakable confidence now stood speechless, realizing that the woman who had just hugged him to escape danger was also the one who had once broken his heart. The rain slowed to a gentle drizzle, but the silence between them felt heavier than the storm that had just passed. Emily stood a step away from him, her hands trembling. She couldn't believe the man she had grabbed in desperation was Daniel Carter, the man she had once loved, and the man she had left behind without explanation. Daniel's daughter looked curiously between them. "Daddy, do you know her?" the little girl asked. Daniel swallowed slowly. His heart was still racing, but not because of the man who had chased Emily. It was because the past he had buried for 5 long years was suddenly standing right in front of him. "Yes, I knew her," he answered quietly. Emily lowered her eyes. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I never wanted to disappear like that." Daniel studied her face. She looked different, tired, older, like life had not been kind to her. "What happened to you, Emily?" he asked. Before she could answer, the little girl stepped forward and gently took Emily's hand. "My name is Lily," she said with innocent warmth. "Are you Daddy's friend?" Emily's eyes filled with tears at the kindness of a child she had never met. I used to be," Emily replied softly. Daniel watched the moment carefully. Lily had always been good at reading hearts, even at her young age. "Daddy helps people," Lily said proudly. "If you're scared, you can stay with us for a little while." Daniel looked down at his daughter in surprise. Lily had no idea how complicated the situation really was. But when he looked back at Emily, he saw the fear in her eyes again. The billionaire CEO who could solve billion-dollar problems suddenly faced a much harder question. Should he help the woman who once shattered his heart, or protect the life he had carefully rebuilt without her? Daniel took a slow breath, trying to quiet the storm of memories rushing through his mind. 5 years ago, Emily had been the center of his world. They had built dreams together, planned a future together, and then one day, she simply vanished. No goodbye. No explanation. Just silence. And now she was standing in front of him again, looking fragile and afraid. "Daddy?" Lily whispered, gently squeezing his hand. Daniel looked down at his daughter. Her innocent eyes held the same kindness he had always hoped she would carry in life. He sighed quietly. "All right," he finally said. "You can come with us." Emily looked up in disbelief. "You don't have to do that," she said quickly. "I know I don't deserve your help." Daniel's voice was calm but firm. "This isn't about the past. Right now you're not safe." For a moment, Emily couldn't speak. She had expected anger, rejection, anything but kindness. A few minutes later, they were sitting inside Daniel's car as it drove through the glowing city streets. The warmth inside the car felt strange after the cold rain outside. Lily happily talked about school from the back seat, completely unaware of the tension between the adults in front. Daniel finally broke the silence. "Who was that man chasing you?" Emily hesitated. "My ex," she admitted quietly. "His name is Mark. When I tried to leave him, he refused to let me go." Daniel's jaw tightened. "You were with him all these years?" Emily slowly nodded, shame filling her voice. "After I left you, everything in my life fell apart. I made the worst decision of my life." Daniel kept his eyes on the road. But inside, one painful question burned louder than anything else. Why did she leave him in the first place? The car finally stopped in front of Daniel's large but peaceful home. Soft lights glowed through the windows, and the rain had almost completely stopped. Emily hesitated before stepping out of the car. She looked at the house, then at Daniel. "You really don't have to do this," she said again quietly. Daniel closed the car door and replied calmly. "You need a safe place tonight. That's all." Lily happily ran toward the front door. "Come on. I'll show you my puppy," she said excitedly. Emily couldn't help but smile for the first time that night. The warmth of the little girl's kindness slowly melted some of the fear in her heart. Inside the house, everything felt calm and welcoming. A small dog ran across the living room as Lily laughed and chased it. For a moment, Emily simply stood there, watching the peaceful life Daniel had built. "You did well," she said softly. Daniel leaned against the table, arms folded. "It wasn't easy," he replied. "After you left, I had to focus on something. Work. My company. Lily." Emily's eyes widened slightly. "Lily, she's your daughter?" Daniel nodded. "She was 2 years old when her mother passed away." Emily's heart sank. She hadn't known. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Finally, Daniel asked the question that had lived in his mind for 5 painful years. "Why did you leave, Emily?" Emily's hands slowly tightened together. Tears filled her eyes. "Because someone threatened your life," she said in a trembling voice. Daniel froze. "My father's enemies discovered our relationship," Emily continued. "They told me if I stayed with you, they would destroy everything you loved." Daniel stared at her in shock. "And you believed the only way to protect me was to disappear?" Daniel stood completely still, trying to process what he had just heard. "For 5 years," he said slowly, "you let me believe you stopped loving me." Emily wiped the tears from her face. "I thought it was the only way to keep you safe," she whispered. "Your company was growing, you were becoming powerful, and my father's enemies were dangerous people. If they knew you still loved me, they would have used me to destroy you." Daniel ran a hand through his hair, overwhelmed by emotions he had buried for years. "You should have trusted me," he said quietly. "I know," Emily replied with regret. "But I was young and scared. I thought disappearing would protect you." Before Daniel could respond, Lily suddenly ran into the room holding her puppy. "Daddy! Look, Max learned a new trick," she said happily. The little dog jumped playfully, making Lily laugh. Emily watched the moment carefully. The joy, the innocence, the peaceful life Daniel had built despite all the pain. "You became an amazing father," she said softly. Daniel looked at his daughter with gentle pride. "She saved me," he admitted. For a moment, the room felt lighter. But then Emily's expression turned serious again. "There's something else you need to know," she said quietly. Daniel looked back at her. "My ex, Mark," she continued, "he recently discovered who you are. A billionaire CEO. That's why he started chasing me again." Daniel's eyes hardened. "He thinks if he controls you, he can get money from me." Emily nodded sadly. "But he's dangerous, Daniel. I didn't come here to cause trouble in your life again." Daniel looked toward the window where the rain had finally stopped. Then he spoke with calm determination. "No one threatens my family.